All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome in. So Josina Anderson is reporting that she's spoken to a league source and that source believes, he thinks, that the Jets and the Saints are going to be battling it out for Lions defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn. At this point in time, Aaron Glenn is actually considered the favorite for the New York Jets job, right? Out of all the guys that the Jets have interviewed, Spagnuolo, Rex, Rivera, all these different guys, it's Aaron Glenn. He's the favorite at this point in time. That could change, right? Obviously, that could definitely change. Aaron Glenn is a hot commodity in this coaching cycle here. We've talked a lot about the connections between Glenn and the Jets for literal months now, so I don't want to, continue to sound like a broken record here, but just to quickly go through this list, in regards to Glenn, he's played for the Jets, he's a Parcells guy, he's known for being that player's coach, someone that coaches and players love and rally behind. Aaron Glenn is beloved in both New Orleans and the Detroit Lions. Aaron Glenn has the connection to Mike Tannenbaum. Mike Tannenbaum obviously has the connection to Bill Parcells. Mike Tannenbaum was not only just a member of the Jets front office early on in his career while Aaron Glenn was a player for the Jets, but Tannenbaum actually hired Aaron Glenn back in 2012 as a pro scout. So these two guys are familiar with one another. And that's obviously really, really important when we're talking about potentially hiring a new head coach. And then from Glenn's standpoint, he knows the market, he knows the fan base, he knows the organization really, really well. So there's a sense of familiarity there. So we have that whole train, right? The Aaron Glenn train. I feel like day by day, it seems like more and more Jets fans are on board with Aaron Glenn. He knows that culture. He knows that city. He knows Mickey Loomis very well. He's a member of the Sean Payton coaching tree. And I think, I'm really looking at how New Orleans is kind of operating this cycle. And it seems like Aaron Glenn is their top candidate, right? So let's kind of compare the two destinations. Let's talk about New Orleans first. What benefits do the Saints have over the New York Jets? Why are the Saints a better destination, right? Because there's pros and cons to both lists. I think some of the areas where the Saints excel over the Jets, or selling points that they have over New York, ownership. I think a lot of people maybe feel better about the Saints ownership than the Jets' current ownership. I think the New Orleans Saints right now are considered a way better culture, and they actually have leaders on their team, whether it's a Demario Davis, whether it's a Taysom Hill, whether it's a Cam Jordan. Whereas with the Jets, they have zero culture, right? The justification of losses throughout the years, the excuse making, the finger pointing amongst each other in the locker room. We have multiple people. First of all, we have multiple leaks coming out of the building. I mean, there's just story after story after story surrounding this team. The culture needs to be built from the ground up with the Jets, whereas the Saints, it's more of that seamless fit. And with Mickey Loomis kind of running the show in New Orleans, heading up this search, I think he's going to want to go for a familiar candidate here in Aaron Glenn. I mean, that was kind of the blueprint with Dennis Allen, right? We lose Sean Payton. Let's get someone similar, someone that knows the culture, someone that knows the team, someone that knows the city. And Aaron Glenn kind of fits that mold. Now, of course, you can push back and say, hey, Dennis Allen was a defensive guy. Should the Saints maybe switch it up and kind of break out of that mold, go get someone else maybe outside of the Sean Payton coaching tree, potentially an offensive mind? That's totally a fair point. And I think if Mike McCarthy becomes available, he could wind up with the New Orleans Saints. Obviously, he has ties to that organization. So again, it kind of feels like the Saints are really pushing for Aaron Glenn to be that top guy, whether it's the connections to the team, whether it's the connections to Sean Payton and Mickey Loomis, whether it's them already having a culture in place, already having, a team with, I would say, a decent amount of leaders on them. And also, too, with the New Orleans Saints, I feel as though you do get a sense of longevity. They're not really in the best cap situation. It is kind of in flux what's going to happen on the offensive side of the football. With Aaron Glenn in New Orleans, it does kind of feel as though that pressure to win, right? Pressure to win the division, it's not going to be there. Like, Aaron Glenn's going to have time to really build how he wants to do, how he wants to build the roster. In regards to the Jets, what do they have over the New Orleans Saints? Well, I would say right now that from a young player standpoint, the Jets are better than New Orleans, right? If you're Aaron Glenn and you want guys on rookie deals, you want guys with tremendously high upsides, you're looking at how they performed last season and you're just, it's just an embarrassment, right? You're probably, as a confident coach, you're looking at the roster thinking to yourself, man, I like the things I could do with this roster, with a Will McDonald, with a Quinnen Williams, with a Quincy Williams, with a Sauce Gardner and a Michael Carter on the inside. Right. We have Jermaine Johnson coming back from an Achilles. We have a couple holes for sure, right? At defensive tackle, at corner two. I mean, we're going to need two starting safety. I mean, honestly, I would say we're going to need three new safeties, two obviously starters. But, for, again, a defensive-minded head coach coming over from a team in the Detroit Lions and also New Orleans Saints, those teams did a really good job of drafting and developing, right? I mean, Glenn was a corner. Glenn was a DB coach. That's how he got his startup. Like, you got to imagine, especially after looking at the player development over in Detroit, Carlton Davis, I mean, having a fantastic season, Brian Branch, Kirby Joseph, one of my favorite players in football, drafting a Terrion Arnold, drafting a Rakestraw, right? There's going to be an emphasis on DB play. I feel like Aaron Glenn could really knock out those three starting positions in one off season, whether it be first round picks, mid round picks, a free agent signing. I trust Glenn in that department, and I think he's probably looking at the potential of a younger team like the Jets. And keep in mind, this is just on defense, and thinking, man, I can do a lot with this squad. I don't really have to take years to build it up. And then on offense, rookie left tackle, or, going into year two, Olu Fashanu, left guard figured out, center figured out, right guard figured out, stable of running backs to where, hey, if we don't really feel great about the quarterback position, we can just hand the ball off to Breeze, hand the ball off to Braylon, hand the ball off to Isaiah Davis, right? Garrett Wilson on the outside. Obviously, we really need a right tackle. We really need a tight end. And, I mean, who the hell knows what's going on with Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams, which is another positive in the New Orleans camp, right? Because the Saints just don't have that mess to deal with. So if Glenn is turned off by the thought of whatever coaching Rodgers and having to deal with that whole, situation, then obviously, New Orleans is probably the right path for him. But for me personally, I don't believe Aaron Rodgers should have any input whatsoever. If the new general manager and coaching staff wants to part ways, then they should part ways. That's just the bottom line. If they want Rodgers, okay, I'm fine keeping him around if they truly want him, and there's no other politics involved, like ticket sales or anything like that. Sorry about that. My camera died right at the last second. But in any case, thanks so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section on this. Saints, Jets, where do you think is the better fit for Aaron Glenn? Or, are you in the camp of, I want an established head coach, or I want an offensive mind? No one's really right or wrong in the situation. Only time will tell where these guys are going to land, but it's really interesting. Again, I would say at this point, it really feels like there's a lot of Jets fans hopping on the Aaron Glenn bandwagon. And, at this point, he is considered the favorite for the Jets job. So crazy, man, crazy. Anyway, thanks so much. And as always, go Jets.